This is a visual inspection, so it is not perfect, but it's a good start at a visual inspection for what our audio signals look like in the 5.1 world, as well as worrying about phase, left and right phase, things like that. And these are things that we monitor. Every program we create, we're looking at that in terms of audio. And this is the same thing for video. You're looking at color bars here, and you can see this is the pattern on this oscilloscope, and we're looking for where the blacks fall and where the whites fall, and each one of these colors should be falling at a certain point. And if they're not, we know that there's equipment that needs to be adjusted or replaced or what have you. Same thing over here. This is kind of talking about luminance. This is talking about chrominance. Is the green green or is the green red? All right? And then again, we've got audio ballistics down here. And these are things that we have in every control room, monitoring every program and every channel that's going on the air. We have these scopes looking at that, so that quickly, we can inspect very quickly any piece of equipment. So even when it is, when this isn't color bars, when this is Grover, all right, there's going to be a pattern up here, and you're going to be able to see that some of the images breaking that 110% rule for the whites, or going way into the blacks, and those are things that start causing problems, for instance, in the audio spectrum. If you have a signal, if you have a signal that is way over modulated in the white area, it actually bleeds into audio and causes buzz. So there are some real issues with breaking these rules. And this is what they call gamut. This is a huge issue in television in general, and I am proud to say that I'm one of the reasons it's a huge issue. So this is kind of looking at the color space in a high definition world. And what they're telling us, the technical operating specs from PBS, is that your colors cannot break this line. And as you can see, this green here is breaking that line. The blues are nice in line, the reds are nice in line, but the green, for some reason, is breaking that space. Years ago, we created a program that we were sending to PBS. I don't know if you've seen a Balloon Fiesta. Beautiful program about the Balloon Fiesta. A wonderful program. And we spent a lot of time and effort creating this, and we submitted it to PBS, and they were overjoyed. They thought this was a really good program. And then they looked at it, and their technical operating inspection said, oh, your red gamut is out. So there's a balloon floating by that had some red in it. And that red, according to them, was out here somewhere. And we brought it back in, and we looked at it in-house, and we saw no point at all where that red broke that line. So we started investigating what's going on, because we're sending these tapes back and forth to PBS, FedEx. It was starting to amount to thousands of dollars trading tapes back and forth, trying to get this right. And PBS just kept coming back and saying, sorry, your red gamut's out. Can't do anything about it. What we found out is that they weren't optically, visually inspecting this. They had a spectrum analyzer that was working on microseconds. And yes, for a microsecond, that red burst through red gamut. A microsecond. Once. I don't know why. I don't know why. You could not see it. You couldn't see it on a scope. But they could demonstrate that we broke red gamut. I was pretty furious because we'd spent a lot of time and expense on this, and I was really, really upset that they were holding what I thought was a kind of a silly quality standard, because this is not a standard that anybody could see, that no viewer experience was going to be compromised. So I started looking at other stuff that PBS was sending to us. This is a PBS Kids program from PBS, right? We started looking at Masterpiece, and if you know the beginning of Masterpiece Theater, there's a lot of red. That red was out here. So PBS is sending us product that was breaking their color gamut guidelines, technical operating specs. Yet they were charging us thousands of dollars in late fees and shipping fees for a program that you couldn't even see that happen. So that was where we got into a big fight with PBS, and I'm glad to say that we won. Because we actually went to the manufacturer, Tektronix, was manufactured. They actually developed the standard and manufactured it. And we went to Tektronix and we started asking them about it, and they went, really? You guys pay attention to that? This is a guideline. Yeah, nobody can see this. I think there might be a Samsung television set out there that has problems when the greens are this far out, but really, who cares? That was Tektronix's point of view, and Tektronix actually wrote PBS a letter and said, guys, you are really, really misinterpreting what these parameters mean, all right? These are color spaces that said for the average television set, if it's within these diamonds, the average television screen out there is going to have no problem replicating that color. If it's outside, it might. Depending on the manufacturer, depending on the temperature of the room, depending on a lot of factors, this might cause a problem. The safe zone is inside the dotted lines. So if you're in there, you're good. 100% of the TV sets out there will be fine. If you're outside that, 10% of the TV sets might have a problem. That's what that Tektronix meant. But PBS took this to an extreme and said, this is it. Kind of a difference between the qualitative and the quantitative, quality experience. But we take quality down to a level. This is me, by the way. See if I can get this to start. Maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, we spend a lot of time training students. And something as simple as, maybe it's not going to work. Essentially what this is, if it was working, it was me coiling a cable. And we get down to the nitty-gritty at our level because we're training the future of television people, production people. And coiling a cable properly is a matter of quality control. And there's a way to do it, over-under, right? Over-under. And I actually set a record at the TV station in Tucson for a contest that we had for over-under in cables. So I was quite proud of this, and I'm sure you can't see it. But this is a quality control measure we put in at the student level to make sure that they are, handling equipment properly and coiling cables properly so that they're optimum diameter, so that they hang on the cable rack appropriately, they're not getting tangled with other cables, and they're not breaking. But we take it down to that level, down to the student training level. And across the board, we're teaching them about those scopes that you were looking at. So they're looking at things like red gamut, believe it or not, and audio levels particularly. Okay? We're passing this on to the next generation as well, part of our quality control measures, because these are the folks who are actually standing behind the cameras doing a lot of the work. You get into programming. This is a picture of our control room. Programming, the programming department spends a lot of time determining when you want to see Masterpiece Theater, when you want to see Nova, when does PBS want you to show it, and trying to find the compromise between what PBS wants us to do and what our viewers tell us or indicate to us that they want to do. They spend a lot of time looking at Nielsen ratings, which is one of the very few quantitative ways that you can measure viewer interest. It's a flawed system, but it's the only one we've got, so we use it. Okay, so Nielsen ratings do play a large part in our decision making, not so much in the commercial world where it determines the pricing of advertising, but in our world we're looking at it for patterns, like how many people do watch us on a Saturday afternoon, and should we look at our lineup on Saturday afternoon, shake it up a little bit to get more viewer interest. And then, oops, wrong way again. Traffic, which then takes the program schedule, the schedule that the programmers put together, and they try and figure out, okay, I know I need Nova at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. Where's it coming from? What satellite? What transponder? What time is it coming down the satellite? Where do I have the space to store that until it airs? And where am I going to play it out of? Because you've got all these different devices to record things to and all these different devices to play things off of. And traffic's decision is to decide what is the path that this program is going to take through our system from the time it comes into us to the time it leaves us. And that is traffic's job. And this is a traffic console where they're actually looking at the log that is up on the screen for a given day. And these red things are programs that the computer is saying, we do not have those, you need to go find them. You need to go find out where they are on what satellite or what videotape, on what shelf, and bring that in and get it into the system. So traffic spends a lot of time and a lot of process time figuring out where and when things are and how they're getting out of here. Big shot of that. And again, quality control over here, because as they're looking at these programs, they're also doing quality control on them, determining whether the audio and the video are at appropriate levels for broadcast, just to make sure that everything is in sync. A lot of this standardization has to do with distribution, okay? Because we're a PBS station, we're a mid-sized PBS station, but we actually have eyes on a lot of the product that is coming in and going out. So we have eyes that are making evaluations all the time. At that station, they're looking at the audio levels and the video levels and determining are they within specs. But a lot of smaller stations and even some of the larger stations, a lot of these processes are automatic now. So we know that Nova is going to come down on transponder 5 at 7:30 on Sunday morning for playback a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. So they can automatically set a recording device to record it at that time. But if PBS doesn't send it at the exact right time, their timer is going to clip the beginning of the program or show 2 seconds of black that you guys don't want to see. So it's really important in terms of standardization for automation purposes that, you know, we flatten out that entire workflow. So a lot of the production process you saw us going through, bars, tone, all those things that appear at the beginning, a lot of that is all about standardization so that we can ship that stuff out of there to PBS station